Kia ora and welcome to another episode of School Briefs. And this one's extra special because look, we've got a special guest. Actually, that doesn't work because I don't know where you are on the actual recording. Stephen Lethbridge is joining us this week to talk a little bit about the great session that was run earlier in the week. And then we are going to go through some of the hot topics of the week as well, that honours list, talking about some of the political stuff that's happening in the primary space. And of course, in the secondary space, we've got the phase 5 consultation and roadshow happening. But first and foremost, welcome to School Briefs, Stephen Lethbridge.
Oh, look, thank you so much for the invitation.
This is the
I
real
think I've managed
thing.
to, yeah, well, I think I've managed to avoid it for quite a long time. So, yeah, finally here.
Be careful.
Hey,
You might be a regular.
Is it true that when you talk on a panel or something and you're asked to submit a bio, you always submit Stephen Lethbridge, all-round good guy? Is that...
Yeah, no. And I've been getting people coming up to me and saying, what's the story with this all-round nice guy thing?
Yeah.
And it's just a lesson to me to proofread everything that Liam sends out.
Yeah.
If I want to have accurate data.
Yeah, I mean, it's the height of arrogance to describe yourself like that. I mean, that's typically what...
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It reminds me a couple of years ago when I was running registrations at a conference and a colleague was there, so I made him a professor and everyone was asking him what he did his study and what his field was in, and he was really embarrassed about it. Yeah, so I should
That's
know
really rude, Stephen. That's really unprofessional.
It is.
Talking about all-round great guys, you spoke to Dominic the other night. Do you want to take us through that session? And it felt like people were buzzing throughout it and coming away from it.
Yeah, well, he was pretty easy to listen to, I suppose. So basically the whole premise of the chat was to get back to a discussion around what effective literacy practice was, so many teachers across the motu will be experiencing structured literacy and the mandate that's come through from structured literacy, predominantly that's come through from the United Kingdom. And so we thought, why not get Dominic to come and have a chat? And, he's got a great book, this Balancing Act book is absolutely fantastic. The thing I love about it is that the first maybe third of the book talks about all of the approaches to literacy education. So it goes from a simple view of reading all the way through Scarborough's reading rope, talks about whole language, it talks about synthetic phonics, talks about everything. And then the next 2/3 of his book are all around, and I think he's quite deliberate in this, the art of teaching literacy. So he's definitely steering clear of the science of learning because he, like people like Guy Claxton, understand that
on the ground,
there are
it's
a few more
not
sciences.
that clinical.
It's not clinical. So yeah, we had a really good session. People were engaged, and I think I got a text from someone saying, "No, keep them going. This is the most engaged I've been with an academic in a very long time."
Most likely.
So yeah, it went well. Yeah. No academics that we know, of course.
Hey, it was interesting listening to his presentation and making the parallels to what's going on over here, because he had that kind of like one slide right at the beginning where he was talking about what the data actually says versus what you actually hear, and he had that kind of quote from Richie Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, that was like running around the country talking about how UK students have kind of the highest reading results in the OECD, and he's just based it on like one very small outlier report, and then the next slide. And then the next slide, he goes and shows what the actual, was it the PISA data says, and the UK's ranked kind of like 9th, and they've got the kind of same general decline that lots of Western countries do.
Yeah, that start was really interesting with the data comparisons because it sort of matches the narrative I think that we've been given, and if I can borrow that term, we've been sold a story. And those people who are in the primary area will know that sold a story is the main driver for the push for synthetic phonics and structured literacy. It was that hit job on whole language. So yeah, we've pretty much been sold a story, and we can see that in the data that's coming out at the moment across the country with the curriculum insight stuff that
The
was
trouble
released
is, stories and
recently.
simplicity sell to parents. They don't sell to the teachers, because
Yeah.
parents love headlines. They love those sort of bite-sized snapshots of data with little, need to understand the whole story. But I feel like we're seeing a shift. I feel like there were some educators that were questioning things, but I feel like that wave is building in terms of, oh, come on. We all know that any issue needs a range of interventions and strategies. And that's what he comes back to, isn't it? In terms of there's no one way. Brains don't all learn the same. There's no one way to sort of raise literacy levels and grow literacy levels.
Well, yeah, and I think every effective teacher knows that, and I suppose that's some of the angst that teachers around the country have faced is that effective teachers are adaptive practitioners. So they don't they look at what's in front of them, look at the data that's in front of them, and then make informed decisions about what to do next. And if that is focusing on phonemes, fantastic. If that is focusing on blends, brilliant, no problem. But if that's focusing on context in a sentence to gain meaning, then that's good as well. It's not staged. So, I don't want to sort of generate all the hate coming through from all those structured literacy people that we experienced a year or two back. I suppose how we preface the start of that conversation was that literacy is just a battlefield at the moment, and it's turned colleagues against colleagues. It's become
Which is
very
ridiculous.
partisan.
When we think about what we're
ridiculous.
actually trying to do is support young people,
Yeah.
Can I ask this is going to expose my absolute lack of understanding of primary school teaching, so
Yes,
I apologise in advance.
Yeah, I've always,
Yeah. But eAstle, how you used to be able to use it, and I don't know if you still can, as assessment for learning tool, and then you got suggested next steps of how to support learners. Was that a mixture of approaches in the next steps, or was it far more just nuts and boltsy in terms of what skills they needed to learn next?
No, it was pretty a mixture of stuff, but that was based on the predominant pedagogical approach of literacy at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would have been in a balanced approach. Yeah.
Okay, so that was
and
much of its time, of its context.
Yeah. But then what you'd have is you'd have teachers that would print out the group pathways for eAstle or all those things, and kids would go up to the wall and go, right, oh, cool, I need to do this. Teacher would say, I'm running a workshop on this here. You self-select. That was a really effective way to use eAstle in an assessment for learning.
What's the future of eAstle now?
Future? Gone. But that's not a bad thing.
Oh, it's not a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing because it did
sorry,
get...
I'm taking us off topic.
That's okay. But it did get, when it started off, it had a lot of good data in it.
Yeah.
But then as it grew, they needed to add data sets to it. So they bought a whole lot of stuff from overseas that went into the pool, and look, I've heard a rumor that a lot of the initial eAstle stuff went into Smart, but that's only a rumor. But, don't hold me on that.
Yeah.
Someone will point it out.
Reinvesting in eAstle would be a damn sight cheaper than the investment made in the Smart tool. And so I think it's a real shame that it's been decommissioned.
And something that's homegrown as well. Well, fundamentally homegrown.
And I think though it shows that actually the real motivations for the Smart tool are around standardised testing and rolling that out to every
accountability, isn't it?
Learning area.
Yeah. Look, Dominic talked about because we're dabbling in assessment. Dominic talked about how the phonics check was used over in the UK. And I think that there was a study that's just been produced at the end of last year or early this year that talked about how actually the phonics check had no noticeable impact on reading at all. But Dominic's point was that, and we all know it, you focus what you're teaching on what you're being asked to assess in
Not
high stakes
necessarily
cases.
what they need.
Yeah.
It's sort of you teach to the test. Yeah.
Was that
Yeah, so,
same report that the kind of only tangible outcome was actually a kind of growing inequity across those kids that typically
They
do
found that
well
with the
in
UK reforms
education
across the board.
regardless. Yeah.
It hasn't closed the equity
Yeah.
gap at all. I tried to pose that question to the minister at SPANZ. It didn't go down particularly well. But I think one of the real frustrations is so much of what we're doing looks like the UK reforms, and yet there's no evidence. They're reviewing it themselves and backtracking because it did not. Standardising, testing, all of that stuff didn't actually. Like I think the high flyers maybe did a little bit better. There was. There might have been a little bit of a shift around, but it certainly didn't close the equity gap. Really disappointing. Your favourite takeaway? Oh, sorry, Liam.
Sorry, I was just going to say, the thing that often gets missed in those conversations around the groups that it did work for is that these studies are never set up where there is a comparable pathway, because there's an opportunity cost around time and investment for any PLD that you roll out. And to get a true understanding, you would also need to run a proper alternative policy approach, which never happens, and then compare the results. Because
we don't have control groups.
Is typically we have kids that do well in our classrooms, regardless of the pedagogical approach.
Yeah, and you end up with reporting like we had, where it was was it with the maths, where they tested them at the beginning of the year and then tested them 2 terms later and went, hooray, they've improved. It's like, and that's a surprise.
Well, we didn't see any phonics data released, or not released because it was released, but we didn't see any phonics data trumpeted as huge successes like we did last year. Probably because the fact is that half of the kids that sat the phonics test didn't actually get to the standard.
No. And to be expected when the goalposts change.
Yeah.
Hey, so what was your biggest takeaway from Dominic?
Biggest takeaway. So his model, so he talks about how language is so complex, and English is even more complex than most, that you cannot separate the written form from the reading form. So that teaching of writing and reading needs to be intertwined. Okay. He did make a comment on decodable texts and how they can suck the living life out of kids.
Hey, they're producing more of them in junior high school. That's great.
And I remember back to when we took part in a university study, trialing a structured approach. And I talked to one of our 5-year-olds. I said, "What do you think about the books?" And he goes, "But they're not stories. They don't mean anything. They're just a whole lot of words thrown together." So Dominic's approach is definitely not structured is terrible. Okay. And I think that's what all effective New Zealand teachers have come to the conclusion for. It's not that phonics, phonemes, graphemes, morphemes, all of those things are terrible, but bringing them together in a balanced approach is what's most effective, because then we can see engagement going up. Because what we're seeing at the moment, since 2019, I think engagement is going down.
The best from all parts. Yeah.
Which good teachers do, right?
And I think that's it. The thing that frustrates me with all of the reforms is none of us are saying X is bad, that is bad. We just don't want a single silver bullet solution, because we know that the landscape is more complex than that. Oh, cool. So we're going to link the session below as well, so people can go back and watch it if they haven't.
Yeah, it's all online, and I'm all for principals and professional autonomy in choosing something that works for you in your context.
Yeah.
And as soon as you put a mandate in that mandates pedagogical approaches, that takes away that autonomy.
Yeah. The word mandate is super problematic.
Yeah. That if people want to do a structured approach, fill your boots. That's great, but don't force it on others who are doing a really good job and getting good results as well.
Yeah.
Let's keep things moving along. Because I know it has been a week of celebration, because we've had a chance to recognised some fantastic contributions to education this week through the honours announcements. Have you got any hot takes, Claire?
Oh, I mean, I've been reflecting hard this week in terms of what the honours list. Like, first and foremost, let's acknowledge there's been some incredible people acknowledged in that list. You know, our sports people. You know, great to see the student volunteer army and the work around that stuff being celebrated. So, I think the broader honours list, fantastic to see people celebrated. I think where I've come to with the education honours list, as I posted earlier in the week, it's a curious list in education space, and I'm not going to make this about any one person, but I can see a theme across the board this year where it feels like it's no longer service to the education system that's being honoured. It's service to the minister and reforms. And that feels a really sad shift in my mind. And I was a little bit shocked to discover that the panel of people who decide who gets an honours list is so left or right, depending on the government of the day. I mean, what an absolute oversight. Surely, you know, this should sit above the political party of the day and be a cross-partisan, non-partisan, however partisan that you want to frame it, group of people choosing who gets awarded and acknowledged. Because it felt like in the education space, there was a statement being made. And it made me reflect on my personal situation. So I shared over on AEC and Disrupted Facebook pages the other day, yesterday, day before, about an event that happened to me. So I was appointed through Treasury to one of the education-related boards. So really robust process that I went through: application, selection, interviews, vettings, all the rest of it. And I was really excited because it was a serious board to get on, and really looking forward to the work, and it was particularly suited to my interests and my skill set, and was super excited. And I was just about to head off on sabbatical, and I wrote a blog post at that time where I did a sort of a tongue-in-cheek critique of what was going on at the time. It was a tale of two fairy tales. And the first one was looking at Chicken Little and the issue of manufactured crisis. And I may have talked about the initials of Chicken Little and another person, and drawn some connections. But, you know, talking about the fact that it was really sad that a couple of years ago we were seeing this manufactured crisis around maths and maths data. And it was being used, it seemed, as a mechanism to roll out really speedy interventions and silver bullets interventions. The second half of that blog post was about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And the thing that actually really peeves me off that I ended up losing the role because of this post. In the second part of it, I actually talked about Goldilocks and the Three Bears and talked about the frustrations that we were having under Labor because there was a lot of consultation. We weren't necessarily moving fast enough. We didn't get Te Makaeaho gazetted in its entirety. We didn't get things rolled out at pace, at any kind of pace. And then we had swung to having a different government of the day and everything happening with what felt like zero consultation and, things being rolled out super, super fast and done to us rather than with us. And I use the analogy of Goldilocks to talk about we don't want that super soft bed. We don't want that super hard bed. We want a bed in the middle that's, and so it was a critique of government and it was a critique of that politics and education interplay. That cost me, and I'm going to be upfront, a $45,000 contract, that one blog post. And, and then I turned around and I reflected on the people who got selected to get honours and maybe some people that got promotions this week. And I can't help thinking and feeling that actually what is celebrated at the moment and rewarded is service to the reforms, not service to the system, not service to our young people. And I know for a fact of at least two incredible long-time educators who had been nominated. The nominators reached out to me and said, hey, I went through the really long process because it's a really big process to nominate people. And they told me the names of the people they nominated. And I went, how on earth did that person not get an honours? How did that person get an honours over that person? So yeah, I came away feeling sad, actually,
Yeah,
because
I feel like this is the first time I've thought about whether or not the honours are
yeah,
kind of politically driven.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it could just be my own naivety because
I feel like it's been a real mix of, you've always had a combination of people from across the political spectrum honoured. You always have. And so it should be.
I guess though, I'm even open to the idea that kind of when you've got a kind of centre left government, maybe there's a trend away from kind of business people, and then maybe with a centre right, a kind of lean towards there. But I
Come
guess
back to Goldilocks. That's where it needs to be non-partisan or cross-partisan. Like, it should be a cross-party selection panel at the very
and I
end.
guess what I was going to say there though is that I always felt those leanings came secondary to the kind of politics of the day.
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably where I think you've captured it really well, that kind of above all else loyalty is the thing. And
Yeah.
it makes me kind of wonder whether or not there is huge levels of politicization and people are making calls around how if these people weren't acknowledged now, would they ever get acknowledged because maybe the time has just moved on. But
Yeah.
I heard from one person this week who has had her honours for about 8 or 9 years now, and she says looking at the list makes it feel like something that devalues her one because
Yeah.
you have to wonder how much of it's politics and how much of it is merit. And similar to you, I actually wrote a referees report for somebody who put their who had a nomination go in, and I look at the fact that she went up, and all of a sudden you've got these questions. Was it the fact that she had a union background and that one of the referee reports was mine, or was it just that she didn't make the cut this year? And it's quite disheartening that something that should be about celebrating amazing contributions to the community is now kind of like tainted with all of these second questions.
Yeah, and it's definitely. I mean, I don't think it's just us. I've seen sort of conversations across the online world. What was your take, Stephen?
Yeah, look, I think it's always been the government of the day have that
Have a leaning
panel,
or a lens,
right?
yeah.
But I remember back to making a nomination for a couple of principals in the inner city area, and Nikki Kay was the minister that or the person that we liaised with. Fantastic, but there again, Nikki Kay was a bit more relational.
But and she worked hard to work across the board. Like, I sat on her 21st Century reference group, and she, like, I don't know if I've told this story on a school brief. She forced me as a Labour Party member to come and present at the National Party conference one year. I got wheeled out. I felt quite weird. Like, I got wheeled into a National Party conference at Sky City. And she got me there to present on education. And she did that because she actually truly believed there was going to be a better discussion in the room if diverse perspectives were going to be represented. I mean, she ended up being a really good mate, but she really did believe in diversity of views, and we always come to a better solution. If it's slowed down, we dissect and we come up with a robust, bipartisan, non-partisan way forward. Yeah.
But that process was quite good because she both of them went through, but only one of them got it.
Yeah.
And that was under the Labour government. And I'm thinking, well, perhaps the political leanings of the one that didn't get through might have had an impact. So, I mean, it was surprising. Yes, I woke up and looked at a few names and went, "You serious?" But also, it's not surprising, right? I mean, we see
it's
you
a
are
world
rewarded
shift,
if you're in the tent. Yeah, but you're rewarded if you're in the tent.
I always feel like this is going to be the modern day version of, you can't talk about Hitler, you lose the argument. But it reminds me a little bit of Trump. Like that sort of jobs for mates, rewarding those who have served you historically. I mean, at least we haven't got a UFC ring being built out front of the Parliament. Could be
Yet.
Quite true. I heard someone yesterday at a meeting say. So someone yesterday at a meeting said, we always thought revolution would come from the far left or the left. What we're experiencing globally is a right-wing revolution.
Yeah. It's interesting, eh?
Let's just say that when they get to the ceremony, fingers crossed, it's just filled with endless karakia and waiata. I'd absolutely love that. Hey, interesting AEC law around Nikki Kay. She was one of the kind of early advisors in kind of setting up AEC, and I don't want to overstate it, but she had this particular idea, which I think we should come back to when the landscape's a little bit different. But that you would have a group like AEC that is looking to pull together backbenchers from each political party and bring them together for really robust discussions that have got like nothing to do with the policy agenda of the day. And so she used the example of like charter schools. You would bring together backbenchers. You wouldn't talk about charter schools, but you would actually talk to them about what is the level of school choice and autonomy and freedom.
And purpose of education and
That's right. And so you would actually try to build consensus from kind of backbench MPs so that as they move into more senior roles, there's a kind of greater understanding towards that whole bipartisan approach. And what I loved about that is that she'd clearly spent a huge amount of time thinking about something that was obviously really important to her around that kind of long-term stability to our approach.
And I mean, I spent the last 2 years with her. We established I'm still part of Blue Nature Trust, which was her initiative that she started with Nigel from Envirostrat, and I came on board as their education person, which was a blue technologies company looking at solutions for ocean regeneration. And it was the perfect example of exactly what Nikki stood for. She was unapologetically national. She was unapologetic in her position and views around individual rights and responsibilities. But at the same time, she could look across the whole political spectrum on a whole lot of topics and see that actually there's some things like the environment, like education, that was too important to only limit to one set of voices. So, I think there's always more work we can do. We're talking for so long this morning. I blame Stephen.
It's always my fault.
Stephen, my understanding is that this week there is going to be the Thunderdome of education policy debate playing out. What has APPA got in store this week?
I come dressed up as Tina Turner. I want to come.
You could try. We'll just come normally then, Claire. That would be no different. Look. We've got the APPA conference this year. So, look, traditionally it's in Taupō. We head down to Taupō for a couple of days and
There's
have some
disappointment in my area that it's been cancelled, Stephen. Disappointment.
Well, yeah,
anyway.
But I think it's a good move too, given the current fuel crisis and things along those lines. It's prudent that we we're
going to take school vans.
Present a
many
good
principals in them.
School vans with diesel. Yeah, great.
What's happening at the conference, Stephen?
What's happening at the conference? So we've got a couple of speakers coming from overseas. So they're going to be there for the one-day event. And built into the day is a 45, 50-minute political panel. So we have Erica Stanford, we've got Ginny coming, we've got Lawrence there. We've also got David Seymour. So that is on the 11th of June. So all registrations are closed, and I'm not telling you where it is, Claire. So an ex-president of APPA, Kyle Brewerton, is going to facilitate that particular conversation with the. No, I'm emceeing the day, so I'm going to be doing
the all-round good guy has to MC the day.
The all-round good guy is having a fireside chat with 3 experienced principals, and is just going to try and chew the fat about what they've learned in there.
This is going to be firecracker though, eh? This sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's a good opportunity to see where people sit and where the room lies. So we'll have, I think, about 150 principals and maybe another 120, 130 senior leaders, and then some business partners in there as well. So about 300 people.
Will it be recorded? Will it be shared? Not.
I'm not sure.
House. Yeah.
it might be Chatham House, but also, we don't know if people are okay with media being there. So it will be an interesting talk. Nothing there will be kept secret though, because there's 300 people with access to social media in the room.
Excellent.
Yeah, it will be fun. Exciting. It will be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and also we've got the road shows happening at the moment. So in secondary class, I've registered for the Thursday one at Ellerslie, so I'll be able to report back on that next week. So that's going to be I didn't actually realise it was a whole bloody day.
Is Nick Gibb coming to that one? Is that Nick Gibb coming?
No, they've
he's not.
subbed out Nick Gibb, and we actually have an Australian educationalist who is, because you wouldn't want a New Zealand one heading it up, would you?
So I think we had the price for the primary road shows coming in. All 4 of them cost $1.27 million, excluding release and relievers.
Oh, wow. At least the flights from Aussie are a bit cheaper. That'll come down a bit.
Yeah.
But yes, I am intrigued as to how a whole day gets filled on this one. So I'll be able to report back from that one on Thursday. But I just wanted to finish off and round out by doing a bit of a shout out again to Dr. Claire Coleman and the incredible work that she has been doing, just rallying people around experts from each of the subject areas and getting them to join her for conversations around Phase 5 subject consultation. And just a reminder for everyone that if you haven't seen them, you can find them over on the AEC Substack. I know they've been shared through the socials as well. So you can always go back to the recordings. I think there's still a couple of more to come, a health one and one other one. I can't remember, maybe a social sciences one, still coming up. But a big shout out to Claire and a big thank you for that. And just a nudge and a reminder. I know we're all bloody tired, but to get feedback in if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, crucially important. Claire's doing an amazing job on those, even with all of the primary, all the subject curriculum posts that she put out.
Yeah.
Incredibly valuable, and people are talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stephen, thanks so much for joining us and allowing us to go a bit deeper into Dominic's presentation. We will have a link to that posted at the bottom of that. Thanks to those people that send in feedback around school briefs as well. We're hoping to be able to kind of incorporate feedback that we hear into the format and how we go and the length of things and the guests that we bring on. And so please do keep that coming.
Yeah, how did Stephen go? Should we cut him or just invite him back?
Yeah, well... Please, terrible feedback. It'd be great. Yeah.
Awesome. Have a good week, everyone.
Ka kite.